So good day everyone. I'm going to discuss about the estate tax credit and distributable estate. So this will be the last topic for the transfer taxes. I mean for the estate tax, which is estate tax credit and distributable estate. So first we will discuss about the estate tax credit. So based on the definition, allowable deductions are deduction from the gross state. However, the tax credit is a deduction from Philippine estate tax itself. So the estate tax credit will never be part of the allowable deductions, will be deducted or can be deducted to the gross estate. The estate tax credit, it is deducted from estate tax due or payable. Okay, in order for you to know the final estate tax that must be paid to the government. So after deducting the estate tax credit and other creditable withholding tax, you will get the estate tax that must be paid to the government. So the estate tax credit is applicable only to resident citizen. I mean, to call this the exemption for this estate tax credit, yung non-resident, saan na ba yun? Non-resident alien or non, uh, wait lang. So, ang naalala ko sa sa income tax. So, the term for estate, wait lang, yung uri ng taxpayer pag estate ay non-resident alien resident. So, hindi na pwede mag-avail ng estate tax credit is non-resident alien because the non-resident alien resident, diba, the situs of properties that are included to the gross state of non-resident alien must be within the Philippines only. So the estate tax credit is based on the actual amount that was paid by the decedent or by the estate according to the properties that are located outside the Philippines. So all of the properties that are outside the Philippines, the estate tax that must be paid is called foreign estate tax. So here in the estate, so here the amount of credit for estate tax paid to a foreign country shall not exceed the proportion of the tax due in the Philippines, which the resident's net estate situated within such country bears to his entire net estate. So based from this provision, we came up on a formula in order for you to know the exact amount that can be um, that can be uh, that can be called as a tax credit or can be claimed as a estate tax credit by the citizen or resident alien decedent. Okay, so estate tax credit refers to the taxpayer's right to deduct from the tax due the amount of tax it has paid to a foreign country. So as what I said earlier, the estate tax credit is based on the actual amount that was paid to the foreign country on which the estate are located. Is- or I mean, all of the properties of the descendants are located outside the country or outside the Philippines. So, however, there is a limit on the total amount that must be claimed as a tax credit by the decedent. So, sabi dito, The amount could be claimed as a deduction if such taxes pertain to properties which are included in the gross estate for Philippines estate tax computation. So, as long as the decedent can claim an estate tax credit, as long as the properties that are located outside the Philippines are must be included to the gross estate of the decedent. Okay? So this deduction is allowed by law to lessen the harmness of international double taxation, where the same estate is being subject to the foreign estate tax and the Philippine estate tax. So in order for to mitigate the effect of international double taxation, the decedent can claim estate tax credit. So the exemption for this is the non-resident alien residents who are not entitled to estate tax credit because non-resident alien residents, the gross estate, all of the properties that must be included to the gross estate of the non-resident alien residents must be within the Philippines only. So all of the properties that are located here in the Philippines must be included to the gross state of the non-resident alien residents. And the properties that are located outside the Philippines will never be included in his or her gross estate. So that's why he or she cannot claim an estate tax credit. Okay, next. So the simple computation in order for you to compute the Philippine estate tax due or the Philippine estate tax payable is the estate tax due, which is based on the net taxable estate multiplied by 6% fixed rate na po yun. Then you will get the estate tax due. Then you can now um, cred- you can now deduct the tax credit for foreign estate taxes paid. Okay, which is later on I'm going to discuss on how to compute the applicable tax credit that can be claimed by the decedent. So after deducting the estate tax credit, we will get the Philippine estate tax payable, yeah, which is due and demandable. Okay, so this is the simple computation of estate tax credit. So let's assume here there is only one foreign country. So the formula is the net estate foreign country divided by net estate world times the Philippine estate tax due. Okay, so before you going to um, use this formula, you must know first the what is the correct Philippine estate tax due. Okay, before deducting the estate tax credit. Okay, after knowing the Philippine estate tax due, you can easily know the total amount that the total amount of that estate that are applicable to the foreign country, okay, then divided by the net state world, which is the total net estate in the said foreign country plus the net estate here in the Philippines. So, so after computing the tax credit, estate tax credit based from this formula, you will compare this on the actual tax paid to the foreign country. So whichever is lower between the limit A, yung based on the formula, versus the actual tax paid in the foreign country, whichever is lower will be the allowed estate tax credit. Okay, for example, here in the example, di ba, based from the formula, so net estate divided by net estate foreign country divided by the total net state world. So the total net state world here is 8 million plus the 2 million, 10 million. Okay? So that will be the denominator of the formula. Then how much is the net taxable net estate foreign country, which is 2 million. So 2 million divided by 10 million times the Philippine tax due. So let us compute how much is the Philippine tax, Philippine estate tax due. So how much? So the total taxable net state world, so 10 million times the fixed rate, which is 6%. So ang estate tax due is 600,000 pesos. So let us find out the proportionate share regarding the amount of estate tax that was paid in the foreign country based from this formula. So 600,000 times 2 million divided by 10. So the answer is 120,000 based on the formula. Then let us compare this to the actual estate tax paid that was paid in the US, which is 400,000 lower. So we will choose the lower, which is the 120,000. So the allowed estate tax credit will be 120,000. So the estate tax due is 600,000, then less the estate tax credit, di ba? Yung lower, which is 120,000. So the estate tax still due and payable will be 480,000. So how about if there are more than one foreign country, diba, that are involved in the gross estate, diba? So step 1, the limit 1, diba? We the formula is also the same. However, the limit 1 is per foreign country. So the formula net estate divided by a net estate of a foreign country, or the first foreign country divided by net estate world, okay, times the Philippine estate tax due. Okay, that is the step 1. Then you same process, you will compare it to the actual payment to the foreign country, whichever is lower, diba? You will choose the lower amount. Okay, then after computing the lower amount per foreign country based on our formula, you will sum up those lower amount to know the amount in limit A, in the formula for limit A. Okay, next, step 2. For step 2, it is based on the total estate, net estate of all countries divided by the net estate world. So, yung world is based on the amount in the foreign country plus here in the Philippines. So, based on the same formula, times Philippine estate tax due, then you will compare it to the actual payment in the foreign country on all foreign country. So whichever is lower, you will choose the lower amount. Okay. Then you will sum up the lower amount in limit B to the limit A. So you will get the allowed tax credit. Diba? If you want to confirm that is the lowest amount that you can get that may be claimed by the decedent as a state tax credit, diba? You will again compare it to the uh, total actual estate tax paid by the decedent to all foreign countries. Okay, whichever is lower, that is the allowable estate tax credit. So this is the illustration. So based from this illustration, okay, so based from this illustration, first, you must know the total amount that is the total amount of estate. or taxable net state in every country. So, yan, after knowing the total amount of net estate in every country, um, you will sum up. Okay, so, the total taxable net estate is 12 million times the fixed rate na 6%, the estate tax due is 720,000. So, let us now apply the limit A and limit B formula. So limit A is based on the limit per country. So in Japan, how much the net taxable estate? 3 million. Tama? Then divided by the total taxable net estate world. So 12 million times the Philippine tax due, state tax due is 720,000. So the limit is based on the formula 180,000. However, how much is the actual payment of the decedent in Japan, 'di ba? Regarding the net estate in Japan. So 200,000 pesos. So the limit is 180,000 based on limit A per country versus the actual amount 200,000. The lower amount is based on our formula, which is 180,000. So the limit for Japan is 180,000. For UK, the net estate taxable is 2 million divided by the net estate world 12 million times the Philippine estate tax due 720,000. And the limit is 120,000 based on the formula. Then let us compare this amount to the actual payment in UK, which is sorry, ay, okay, which is 100,000 pesos. So lower is the actual payment, which is 100,000. So the limit estate tax credit for UK is 100,000 pesos. Okay? Then in order for you to know the total amount for limit 1, you will sum up all of the allowable estate tax credit in every country. So for Japan, 180,000, plus for UK, 100,000. So the total limit for limit A is 280,000. Then the next limit or formula is based on the net estate tax of all foreign country divided by the net estate tax world times the Philippine estate tax due 7 before deducting the estate tax credit, which is 720,000. So the limit will be 240,000. However, diba, let us compare this amount to the actual payment. The sum of all actual payment in all in all foreign country, which is 200 for Japan plus 100 for UK, total amount is 300,000. Then let us compare to the limit that we compute, which is 240,000. The lower is the amount based on our formula, which is 240,000. So 240,000. Okay, then let us compare the allowed estate tax credit for limit 1 or limit A and limit 2 or limit B. So the lower amount will be came from limit 2, which is 240,000. So our final allowable tax credit will be 240,000. Okay? So here there is no need for you after knowing the allowable tax credit lower between limit 1 and limit 2, there's no reason for you to compare it again to the total actual payment in all country because in limit 2, we already compare the actual payment of all country. So whatever the result between or whatever the lower amount between the limit 1 or A to limit 2 or B, that will be the allowable tax credit. So here in the illustration, the allowable tax credit will be 240,000. Then the 240,000 will be the allowable estate tax credit, and it must be deducted to the Philippine estate tax due before deducting the um, estate tax. So here in our station, so the estate tax is 720,000. Then let us deduct the estate tax, allowable estate tax credit, which is 240,000. So the estate tax payable and demandable is 480,000. Okay? So regarding sa estate tax credit, it is almost the formula for limit 1 and limit 2 or limit A or limit B is almost the same with the income taxation regarding sa ano nila, income tax credit, foreign income tax credit. Okay? Same principle lang siya. Okay? However, usually, di ba, kapag income tax credit regarding dun sa foreign payment sa side ng income tax, the Philippine income tax due that will be used in the formula will be after deducting all of the creditable withholding tax except before deducting the allowable income tax credit. Okay? So, like for example, if there is a withholding tax, di ba? Ano yung deductible sa uh, tax income tax due. So, i-deduct muna mo yun kung mga ganon, withholding tax and other credible withholding tax. Then, you can use that as formula na ganito yung limit 1 and limit 2. Okay? Yun lang yung pinagkaiba dito. Kasi usually sa estate, there is no such thing as credible withholding tax. Compared to income tax, meron, di ba? As long as the tax credit is included in the what they call this, the gross income ni taxpayer subject for deduction ni sa income tax due. Okay, but here wala naman. Wala namang mga um, creditable withholding tax sa income tax. Okay? So, after computing the estate tax, diba, and you want to know how much is the actual amount of all of the properties that are included in the gross state that must be distributed to the beneficiary or heirs, we must compute the net distributable estate. So here, the difference between the estate tax and the net distributable, the net taxable estate compared to net distributable estate, the net taxable estate is based on the application of laws under estate tax. So here in the net distributable estate, uh, the all of the properties, diba, that will be actually received by the heirs or beneficiary, and of course, it must be deducted by all of the actual payments, expenses that are directly attributable to the gross estate. Okay, and um, some of the uh, some of the term regarding on our estate tax law are not applicable here in net distributable estate. Like for example, the vanishing deduction. It is not applicable here in the net distributable estate because the vanishing deduction is not an actual payment or an actual expenses. It's just only an imaginary computation, diba? Kasi based on our based on the provision regarding estate tax law, diba? Vanishing deduction can be an allowable deduction in order for you to compute the taxable net estate. Okay? But here, di ba, ang tinutukoy dito is yung net distributable estate. So, the actual amount of all properties less less all actual payments of expenses, di ba, that must be distributed to the beneficiaries or heirs. Okay? So, ito na yung difference. In layman's term, the net taxable estate, the result of the application of the law under estate taxation. So, here, in computing the net taxable estate, we must use all the provisions that are stated in the law under estate taxation, such as standard deduction. It must is considered as an allowable deduction compared to net distributable estate. There's no such thing because the standard deduction is not an actual expenses or actual payment, diba? That is attributable to the gross estate. Hindi. However, sa net taxable estate, it is needed to it is considered as an allowable deduction, diba? Vanishing deduction sa net taxable estate applicable yan, sa net distributable estate hindi. But always, so if in the problem, if the problem is if the question that is being asked is about net distributable estate, always consider the actual properties and less actual payment and expenses. Okay? And also, in net distributable estate, the amount arrived at from gross estate consisting all properties in the possession and control of the decedent at the time of death and actual expenses, charges, and payments from the gross estate. So always consider the total amount that must be distributed to the beneficiary or heirs. Okay? So here are the comparative schedule between the net taxable estate and net distributable estate. So let us identify what are the properties that must be included in the net taxable estate and distributable estate. So the same lang siya. So from real immovable property, di ba? All of the properties that must be included sa gross estate, di ba? Which the decedent has the right or possession. I mean, has the right of that property at the time of death, included po yan sa net taxable estate and distributable estate. However, regarding on the benefits, benefits that came from SSS, GSS, etc., yung mga exclusion patungkol doon, sa net taxable estate, according to our law, it is not included. So, excluded po sa net taxable estate in computing the estate tax due. I mean, and estate, net taxable estate. Okay? However, in the distributable estate, the benefits that came from SSS, GSAS, diba, all of the benefits must be included in the distributable estate. Okay? Because it will be distributed to the beneficiary or heirs unless if those benefits, diba, it is the beneficiary, there is a specific beneficiary na nilagay si decedent na magtatanggap ng mga benefits na yon, automatic hindi dapat ilagay sa gross state. Dahil ang makakatanggap ng mga benefits na yun ay yung mismong nakalagay dun sa beneficiary ni decedent. Kasi di ba may form niya na sinusulatan, diba, may nakalagay doon beneficiaries, kung sino nilagay niya doon, yun yung makakatanggap ng mga benefits na galing sa SSS, GSS. Pero kung walang nakalagay, automatic included yung sa gross state sa under distributable estate. Paano naman yung mga allowable deductions? So, funeral expenses sa net taxable estate, because of the implementation of the law, the funeral expenses are not required anymore to be included as an, as allowable deductions. However, sa distributable estate, subject yun sa allowable deduction. Bakit? Kasi actual payment yan, funeral expenses. Tama? So, saan sila kukuha ng pambayad sa malamang sa gross estate? O kaya someone will pay for it first, then i-reimburse nila sa gross estate. So, sa distributable estate, deduction po yun. How about the judicial expenses? Sa net taxable estate, same with funeral expenses because of the implementation of train law, it is no longer allowed. However, sa distributable estate, dahil actual payment yan, binayaran po yan, di ba? Directly attributable naman sa pagkamat sa regarding sa gross state, di ba? Sa judicial expenses yan. So, actual payment niya, yun yung malamang i-consider as allowable deduction. Then how about unpaid taxes? Net both sides, 'di ba? Actual amount yung nilalagay as allowable deduction. Ganito sa claim against the state, same din. Claim against insolvent, same din. Sa losses, ang pinagkaiba lang nila is sa net taxable estate, 'di ba? Settlement period. So from the time namatay si decedent, 'di ba? Up to, 'di ba, within 1 year, yun yung settlement period. So, yung occurrence ng mga loss na yan, subject po yun sa allowable deduction. However, sa distributable estate, no such thing as settlement period as long as that losses is directly attributable dun sa gross estate, diba? Automatic, considered yun as allowable deduction. How about transfer for public use? Same lang sila, actual amount. So, vanishing deduction sa net taxable estate as computed, di ba? May ano yung formula on how to get the vanishing deduction. However, sa distributable estate, no such thing as vanishing deduction. Kasi hindi man yung actual expenses, actual payments. Okay? And next is the standard deduction. Here sa net taxable estate, because of train law, hindi siya 1 million, 5 million yan. Hindi lang yan nabago. 5 million yan. 1 million kasi, before train law. Ngayon, 5 million na po yan. Okay? So, distributable estate, no such thing as the standard deduction. Kasi hindi may actual payment or actual expenses. Ganun din how about the medical expenses? Because of train law, no longer allowed as allowable deduction under net taxable estate. Pero sa distributable estate, kasi medical expenses yan, di ba? Actual yan, actual payment or expenses. So, considered yan as allowable deduction. How about amount received under RA 4917? So, the RA 4917, ang counterpart niya sa public is yung SSS, USS, yung mga retirement benefits yan. However, if the decedent came from a private firm, yan yung applicable na term, amount received under RA 4917. So, here sa net taxable estate, considered it as allowable deduction. Compared do sa distributable estate, ano yan, not considered. Hindi na dapat isama yan sa distributable estate. Kasi nga, some of the heir or beneficiary, diba, are actually receive this benefit. So, no need for that proceeds under RA 4917 to be distributed to all heirs or beneficiary. Kasi nga, meron na tumatanggap na yan. Kaya na-distribute na yan, already distributed. Okay? So, share of surviving spouse. So, same, 1/2 net conjugal or common. Then, sa distributable estate, 1/2 net conjugal. Kasi nga, pag-aari yun ni surviving spouse. So, tanggalin natin sa gross estate. Okay? Then, the net taxable estate, diba? Then, multiply it by the 6% fixed rate, you will get the estate tax due. Diba? However, on the side of distributable estate, you will deduct the estate tax due. Why? Kasi nga, kukuha ng pambayad yung mga beneficiary heirs dun sa gross state. So, pag i-distribute yung mga properties, i-less na natin yung estate tax due. Okay? So, the total amount distributable, you will get the this total distributable net estate. So, apply po natin. So, station here, di ba? Tinatanong, first question, how much will be the estate tax due? So, the usual computation. First, you will identify what kind of decedent yung nasa problem. Resident alien decedent, paano yung tinatax? So, within and outside the Philippines. Ang tanong, married ba siya? Walang nakalagay. Sabi lang, head of the family. So, hindi porket head of the family, automatic na may kasama tayo. Tama. So, dapat, specifically included na married. Saka head of the family lang. So, consider yun as single. Okay? So, how much will be the gross state? Just add all of the gross state within and outside the Philippines. Ang total amount na ay 100,000, ay 100 million. So, deductions, isa-isayin natin. Funeral expenses, in computing estate tax due, the funeral expenses will never be considered as allowable deduction. So, hindi natin sasama yan. Funeral expenses, ganun din. Hindi na rin yan considered as allowable deduction in computing the net estate tax. Net taxable estate. Okay? Kasi because of claim law. Claim against the state, yan, consider natin yan as deduction. Okay? As long as the property which is aligned with this claim against the state included sa gross state. Sa problem, wala namang siya, general siya, so hindi na in-specify. So, let's assume na included yan sa gross state. Unless specifically identified na yung property patungkol sa claim against the state is not included in the gross state, or no need for you to include the claim against the state as allowable deduction. Okay? Next, losses. So here, losses is 50% were incurred, 50% were incurred more than 1 year after death. So sabi diba, if you want to claim the losses that are attributable dun sa gross state, consider the settlement period, which is at the time of death, within 1 year at the time of death. So sabi dito, 50% daw incurred more than 1 year after death. So the 50% of 4 million, which is 2 million, is just the net amount that can be claimed as allowable deduction. Kasi bukod siya within or incurred within the settlement period. Okay, to 2 million lang. So medical expenses not allowed because of trade law. Okay? Standard deduction, di ba? Tumaas na siya from 1 million before trade law na ngayon naging 5 million na. So next, family home, dating 5 million yan before trade law, yung 10 million na. So yung family home sa rito, included sa gross state. Okay? So, pero kung married individual yung decedent, kasal siya, okay, yung family home na 10 million, yung limit, dapat i-consider nyo muna kung yung family home ba common property or exclusive property. Tama, kapag married. So, kapag yung family home is common property, yung family home na 10 million as allowable deduction, dapat, nakatapat yan dun sa kung saan nakalagay yung family home na yun. Kung exclusive, nakatapat yung sa exclusive. Doon mo lang ina-deduct yan. Pero kung common yung family home na yun, edi sa column na common yung allowable deduction, itatapat mo lang kung saan nakalagay ba yung family home na yun. Ang limit po dyan ay 10 million, whichever is lower. Okay, the actual fair market value of the family home versus the limit, which is 10 million, whichever is lower, yun ang pipiliin. So, here, wala mang, kasi here, yung family home is worth of 30 million. So, nag-exceed dun sa limit. So, ang gagamitin lang natin na pwede na claim as an allowable deduction regarding sa family home is 10 million. So, sum up mo lang, then i-deduct natin sa gross state yung deduction. So, multiply it by the fixed estate tax rate na 6%. So, the estate tax to here will be 4,800,000. How about net distributable estate? So, huwag kayong malito. Regarding sa net distributable estate, lagi nyo isipin, yan yung mga lahat ng properties na less the actual expenses or payment that are directly attributable dun sa gross state. Yan yung net noon, yan yung mismo i-distribute sa mga heirs or beneficiary. So, all of the, so, kalimutan mo na yung nasa, provision in computing on how to compute the estate tax due. Kasi iba naman itong net distributable estate. As if na dapat malaman mo yung total amount na mismo i-distribute sa mga beneficiary owners. So, the gross state, same lang, 100,000. Then, deductions, lahat yan ng actual payment or actual expenses na attributable dun sa gross state. Lahat yan. So, funeral expense, 1 million. Walang limit yan. Okay, duty expenses, 1.5, same lang din. Then, claim against state, 3 million. Same lang din. Losses, pag sa losses, hindi na applicable yung settlement period kasi yung settlement period, diba, applicable yan sa pag-compute ng estate, net estate, or net taxable estate. Okay? But here, the losses, because we are asked to get the net distributable estate, so the losses, the whole amount na 4 million, included po yan as deduction. So, medical expenses, ganun din. Actual amount, 3 million. Diba? However, sa net estate, or net taxable estate, hindi yan subject sa allowable deduction. Okay? Then, of course, i-deduct din natin yung estate tax due kasi nga, saan makukuha ng pambayad din sa net tax due? Malamang dun sa gross state. So, bago natin i-distribute sa mga beneficiary owners, kailangan lahat ng deduction, lahat ng actual payments or expenses, i-deduct na natin. Okay? Kasi doon man tayo kukuha ng pambayad. Okay, sa gross state. So, the estate tax due is 4.8. Deduct din natin yan. So, the net distributable estate will be 82,700,000 pesos. So, yun na yung actual amount na i-distribute mismo sa mga beneficiary and heirs. Okay? So, yun. So, let us review about the property relations. So, dapat ito muna na ibang discuss natin na property relations, but na-discuss na to, so now, review na lang ito. So, regarding the nature of property relations, there's what you call prenuptial agreements. So here, other term for prenuptial agreements is premarital agreement or anti-nuptial agreement. So here, before entering into marriage, they have the right to have an agreement. Ito na yung prenuptial agreements na ito. Before the agreement can be considered as valid, this prenuptial agreement must be in writing and of course must be executed prior to the celebration of the marriage. So before entering into marriage life, diba? Or prior to the celebration of life, kailangan nagawa muna yung prenuptial agreement. Kaya nga diba? Before. Okay? And must be signed by the future spouses. Of course, kailangan naka-affix yung signature ng both spouses. Nung future wife, yung future spouses. Okay? Then, after After that, no modifications allowed thereto after the celebration of marriage. Okay, kasi kung subject for modification pa rin yan, it cannot be called as prenuptial agreement. Okay, so some of the requirements that must be complied with in order for that agreement or prenuptial agreement to be bind with third parties. Oo. First, dapat yung prenuptial agreement, uh, the local civil registry has the copy or formally informed that they have a prenuptial agreements, diba? On which where the celebrate it must be filed where the marriage is celebrated. Okay, next, of course, because the properties, 'di ba? Ang humahawak ng mga properties is yung mga title niya, mga titulo, 'di ba? Si Register of Deeds. Dapat well-informed si Register of Deeds at the same time, the Register of Deeds has a copy of the prenuptial agreement. Diba? It is the province where the affected property is located. So, kung saan po nakalocate yung property na yun, doon kayo magbibigay ng prenuptial agreement na copy doon sa Register of Deeds kung saan located yung property na yun na nakalagay doon sa prenuptial agreement mo. Pero kung hindi nyo ito na-comply, valid pa rin yung contract between the spouses lang. However, regarding sa third parties, hindi siya binding. Okay? So, kasi nga, like for example, kapag binentayaan yung isang, di ba? Binentayaan yung isang property na sa prenuptial agreement mo na pag-aari pa lang ng asawa mo. So, kung nabenta yung sa third parties, yan, saka hindi na-inform si Register of Deeds, di ba? Tapos si local civil registry, so, hindi yung binding kay third parties. Okay? Next. So, property relations. In property relations is applicable only to married persons. Okay, if you are single, a simple computation lang in getting the estate tax due. Apo. Pero kapag married person siya, you must consider the property relations. So, separates common and exclusive property. Yes. So, if you are married, diba, although you are married, diba, you have a spouse, diba, properties must be, the properties can be called as a common and exclusive property. Depende kung ano yung gagamitin yung property relations. Later on, I will discuss, isa-isayin natin yun. Next, subject to prenuptial agreement, law and custom. So, yung kanina. Okay? Types of property relations according to Article 75, New Family Code. So, the future spouses may, in the marriage settlements, so before they will be get to be married, diba? The both parties may have the rights to have a marriage settlements. So in the marriage settlements, they can indicate what property relationship that they will be used. Diba? It's either ACOP or absolute community property or CPG, conjugal partnership of gains, or complete separation of property. So here in the complete separation of property, diba? From the term itself, diba? Basta bago kayo magpakasal, lahat ng property ng pag-aari ninyo, hanggat tapos nagpakasal kayo, pag-aari niyo pa rin yan. Kasi nga meron kayo complete separation of property. Any other regime. So here, pasok na dito yung prenuptial agreements nyo. Kung ano yung pagkasunduan nyo, yun dapat ang mag-prevail. Okay? So next, What if the couple had not adopted or agreed upon a system before their marriage? Okay. So the rule that must be used regarding the property relations is based on the date of marriage. So under CPG or conjugal gains of partnership, diba? The date of marriage must be before August 3, 1988. So the date August 3, 1988, that is the time when the new family code is what that was implemented. August 3, 1988. So, under civil code, di ba, before new family code, ang property relation naman is the conjugal links of partnership. Okay. Conjugal partnership, CPG, hindi CGP. So, conjugal partnership of gains. So, however, nung nag-implement na yung new family code, eh, so, nagkaroon na ng absolute community of property. So, under Act of, the date of marriage is on or after August 3, 1988. So, in marriage settlement, according to Article 77 of the new family code, in order to be valid, the marriage settlement must be in writing, signed by parties, of course, and executed before the celebration of marriage. And registered and must be registered in the civil register where the marriage contract is recorded. Okay? So, in property relation, diba, it is important for you to know about the property relations in computing the net taxable estate. Because if the decedent is married, diba, you must identify the common property which is owned by both spouses and the exclusive property owned either by the husband or the capital property or by wife para personal property. Because in our computation in getting the net taxable estate, which is the basis of computing the estate tax due, there is one of the deduction will be the share of the surviving spouse. So in the column of common property, the 50% will be considered included dun sa gross state na taxable patungkol dun sa spouse na namatay or dun sa decedent. And the other 50% of the common property will be the share of the surviving spouse on which those property will never be included as estate estate net taxable estate. Hindi na po yung included para po makuha natin yung estate tax. So, yan. So, sa proper kaya dapat ma-master niyo yung property relations, yung computation regarding that. Okay? So, law governing property. So, as what I said earlier, di ba, the provisions regarding the property relations is under the new family code, di ba? So, okay, so based on the date of marriage yan, kapag um, CPG, ano yan, before August 3, 1988. Pag ako, um, on or after August 3, 1980. Okay? So, absolute community of property. So, let us now identify all of the properties that are considered as an absolute, as a common property and exclusive property. Here, absolute community of property or ACOP. So here, in the ACOP, the general rule is the provisions on co-ownership share apply. So it means all the properties acquired before marriage under AKO are always common property. Kasi co-ownership eh. And also, all of the properties acquired during marriage from common property. So, considered yun as common property rin. Because of the provision of co-ownership. So, later on, we will discuss every properties that are included in the as a common property under ACO, and of course the exclusive property. Okay? So, what if the property acquired before marriage? So, the property owned by the spouses before or upon celebration of marriage and brought into marriage become part of the community property. So, that is the general rule. Tama. And also, this includes, among others, property inherited or received as donation before the marriage. Okay, so kanina yung first general rule, the exemption is as long, what if the property acquired before marriage by either spouse has legitimate descendants. So, merong previous marriage, kaya merong legitimate descendants, o kaya may anak, bago na nagpakasal, na iba yung considered as iba yung family doon. All of that property and the fruits as well as income, it is considered as exclusive property. So in the problem, if the property owned by the spouses before upon celebration of marriage or brought into marriage, diba? And there is a previous may previous marriage yung isa dun sa mga yung spouse na tinutukoy doon na may dala ng property. At the same time, may legitimate descendants by the former marriage, yun, considered it as exclusive property, as well as the fruits, income, related to that property, exclusive na property na yun. Kasi nga, merong former marriage or previous marriage, the same time, may legitimate descendants. Pero kung wala namang hindi naka-specifically indicate, so ang general natin, community property. Regarding dun sa property inherited or received as donation before the marriage, ano yun? Considered yun as common property. Okay? Kasi before the marriage naman yan. But if the property was inherited or received as donation during the marriage under ACOP, the general rule will be that property will be exclusive property. Oo. Kapag na-receive yun, yung property inherited or received as donation during the marriage, so ang general rule, magiging exclusive property yun under ACOP. But if the donor, testator, or administrator decided to expressly provided that the property that will be transferred to either of the spouses will be form part of the community property, so under ACO, it is considered as common property. Okay? So, huwag kayong malito kapag yung property na inherited o kaya na-receive as donation before the marriage, so under ACOP, it is considered as common property. What if na-receive yun during the marriage? Ang general rule natin is yun ay exclusive property. Okay? However, kapag si testator, administrator, or si donor ay expressly sinabi niya na yung property na yun is form part of the common property under ACO, consider yun as common property. Okay? So, community property under ACO. So, what if family home? So, sabi di ba dito, sa ACO, pag properties acquired before marriage, yun ay considered as common property. Okay? So, pag properties acquired during marriage, nanggaling yun from exclusive property under APO, ay considered as exclusive property. What if yung properties acquired during marriage from common property, automatic na yun ay under ACO, common property din. What if the properties acquired during marriage again, however, it was obtained from labor, industry, work, or profession of either or both spouses, considered yun as common property. Okay? So, regarding the family home, you must identify first kung yung family yun kailan ba na-acquire. Okay? If the family home is acquired before marriage under CAOP, under ACOP, it is considered as common property. Okay? What if the family home is acquired during marriage from exclusive property? Oh. So magkakaiba na. Kapag kapag na-acquire siya during marriage, tapos from exclusive property, under ACOP, considered din as exclusive property. Eh what if yung family home na yun na-acquired during marriage, tapos from common property, o yan, considered na yun as common property under ACOP. So, it doesn't mean na family home yan automatic considered as common property. You must identify first when it was acquired, then what is the source of acquiring that property, diba? Kapag before nga, na-acquire siya before, automatic under ACOP common, pero na-acquire siya during, then consider mo kung saan ba ano ba yung source nung pinambili dyan sa family home niyan. Kung ang pinambili is coming from exclusive property, automatic yung family home niyan under ACOP exclusive. Pero kung ang pinambili dyan sa family home niyan is coming from common property or under ACOP, considered yan as common. Okay? So, kapag in-acquire yan during marriage, see to it yung source niyan. Ano ba yung pinambili or saan ba nanggaling yung family home niyan. Kung ang pinambili is under common property, yan na. So, first dapat, identify mo kung kailan yan acquired, before ba o during. Okay? Kapag during, identify mo yung source niyan. Kung ano ba yung ginamit na pinambili dyan sa property niyan. Okay? Next. So, sa proceeds of life insurance, the same ano rin yan, principle. So, if the premium that was paid from exclusive funds, automatic that the proceeds of life insurance is considered as exclusive property. Okay? Kasi ang pinambayad ko din sa premium ay galing po sa exclusive fund. So, on the other side, kapag galing yan sa common funds, considered yan as common property. So, ang bottom line, i-check mo muna kung na-acquire siya, kung kailan siya na-acquire, then kung saan ba nanggaling yung pinambili dyan. Okay? Yan yung under ACOP. Okay, next. Claim against insolvent. However, what if yung properties na yan acquired during marriage, but obtained from labor, industry, work, or profession of either or both spouses. So, kung ang pinambili dyan is under the labor, industry, work, or profession of either or both spouses, regardless kung pinagtrabahunan ni yung isa sa mga spouses. Kaya, both spouses, as long as nanggaling yan sa labor, industry, work, or profession, under ACOP, considered yan as common property. Okay? So, yun. So, next claim against insolvent person is either exclusive or conjugal property. So, here, in the claims against insolvent person, so usually, ano yan, ang accounting term yan is account receivable. Diba? However, insolvent person na. So, ano yan, uh, ang bad debts na siya, good for, ano yan, dapat i-written off na sa book of accounts, di ba? So, ang magandang ang term dyan is bad debts. Okay? So, is either exclusive or conjugal property. So, sabi dito, kapag yung pera na pinakutang dyan ay galing sa exclusive property, ito automatic exclusive property na yung claim against insolvent person. Kaya pag galing yan, ang pinakutang dyan is galing sa conjugal property, ang ano dyan is conjugal property and claim against insolvent person. Okay, next, exclusive property under ACO. So, the exclusive property is termed, di ba, yun yung mga property nung namatay, nung decedent. Okay? So, wala dyang share si surviving spouse. That's exclusive property yan nung decedent. Okay. So, under AHO, there are examples that can be considered as exclusive property. So, first, fruits or income coming from an exclusive property shall be excluded from community property. So there is a principle about that. Under ACOP, the fruit shall follow the source. So first, di ba, you must identify what is the source of that fruits or income. If the fruits or income come from an exclusive property, that fruits or income will be considered also as exclusive property. Okay, and shall never be formed part of the community property kasi considered it as exclusive property. So always remember regarding the fruits or income of a particular property, the principle that must be used is the fruit the fruit shall follow the source. Okay? So identify mo muna kung saan yung source niya. Okay, next, on the contrary, fruits arising from labor of either spouse shall be included in the community or conjugal property. So, here, di ba, sabi ko kanina, under ako, di ba, kapag yung properties na acquired during the marriage and it was obtained from profession, labor, industry, work of either or both spouses considered in as common property. Okay? So, same here din, yung fruits nga arising from labor of either spouse. Kasi nga, kung na-obtain yan from labor, work, profession of either spouse or both spouses, considered na yun as common property. How much more yung fruits niya patungkol dun sa property na considered yun as common property. Okay, next, property which used exclusively or for personal use. So, like for example, yung mga damit, di ba? Shoes and other personal other property that is used for personal purposes. Di ba? Regardless of what was used to acquire such property shall never be included or excluded from community property. Okay? So, yung mga property na is used for exclusively and for personal purposes, di na dapat nating ilagay sa community property. Except yung jewelries. So, sa jewelries, pag under ACOP, automatic na consider yun as common property. Okay? So, sa conjugal partnership of gains, regarding sa jewelry, it was not specifically stated na whether exclusive or common. So, I think, consider yun as ano yan, mga personal property rin yan. Okay? However, under ACOP, pag jewelry under ACOP, considered yun as common property. Okay, next, property and its fruits acquired by either of the spouse from a previous marriage shall be excluded as well as from the community property. Okay, so nasabi ko na kaniniyaan, di ba, kapag yung properties is bought into marriage or before marriage, acquire yun, uh, sa under ACOP, considered yun as common, tama. However, if there is a previous marriage, kung sino man may-ari nung property na yun, and most especially if there is a legitimate descendants, consider yun as exclusive property. Oo, hindi na yun considered as common property under ACOP. Kasi nga, ang priority is yung mga legitimate descendants. Kasi bago siya nagpakasal, meron siyang previous marriage, which is may uh, ang may karapatan patungkol sa mga property na yun is yung mga legitimate descendants, yung previous marriage. So, consider yan as exclusive property. Next, conjugal partnership of gains. So, here's a conjugal partnership of gains. Um, It is one of the property relations between the spouses under which the husband and wife place in common fund the proceeds, products, goods, and income from their separate properties, those acquired by either or both spouses through their efforts or by chance, and upon the dissolution of the marriage or of the partnership. The net gains or benefits obtained by either or both spouses shall be divided equally between them, unless otherwise agreed in the marriage settlements. Okay, so CPG applies when the future spouses agree to it in the marriage settlement. So if there is a marriage settlement and it was specifically stated in their agreement that they will use the CPG, this CPG regardless kung kailan sila nagpakasal. However, if there is no marriage settlement, if it is if the marriage is nangyari before August 3, 1988, automatic ang property relation na applicable sa kanila is yung CPG. Okay, next, exclusive property under CPG. Ito na yung mga specific properties na considered as exclusive property under CPG. First, that which is bought to the marriage as his or her own. So, if the property is acquired before, or properties acquired before marriage or brought into marriage, so under CPG, considered yun as exclusive property. However, if it is under ACOP, considered yun as common property. Okay? So next, that which each acquires during the marriage by gratuitous title. So, yung property na yun acquired during marriage by gratuitous title. So, ano yan? Under CPG, automatic na kaagad, exclusive property yun. Considered exclusive property. However, under ACOP, diba, may general rule, then may exemption. So, under ACOP, if the property acquired during marriage through gratuitous title, ang general rule is exclusive property din. However, if the testator, administrator, or the donor of that property that was transferred to either of the spouses during marriage, at sinabi, expressly provided na, or stated, sinabi niya na yung property na yun is dapat i-consider as part of their community property. So, yun susundin natin. So, under ako, magiging common property yan. However, sa CPG, no such thing na exemption. Stick dun sa general rule. Kapag na-acquire during marriage through gratuitous title, automatic exclusive property na yan under CPG. But in ACOP, general rule, exclusive. However, exemption is kapag sinabi nung testator or donor na shall form part of the community property, kasi sundin natin sila. Magiging common property yan under ako. Okay, next. That which is acquired by rights or redemption or by exchange with property belonging to only one of the spouses. So, here, pareho rin yan sa, pareho rin yan na under ako. Kasi sabi doon, if yung property is acquired during marriage, then it was acquired from exclusive property, automatic, both under ACOP and CPG, it is considered as common property. Sorry, kapag yung property is acquired during marriage from exclusive property under both property relations, automatic yun ay magiging exclusive property. Okay? Next, that which is purchased with exclusive money of the wife or of the husband. So, pag na-purchase yan or na-acquire during marriage at ang pinanggamit po is exclusive money of either the spouses, automatic on both property relation under ACOP and CPG, considered it as exclusive property. So, conjugal property or conjugal property under CPG. So, the conjugal property under CPG uh, is the property acquired by onerous title during marriage. Okay, so here, diba, if the property is acquired during marriage by onerous title, you must identify first where it came from. Ano yung pinanggamit na property para ma-acquire yung property na yan. Kung nanggaling yan sa exclusive property, yung pinambili dyan sa property na yan is galing sa exclusive property, ano yan, under both property relations, under CPG and ACOP, considered din as exclusive property. However, kung ang pinambili niya ay sa property niya na unacquired during the marriage or during the marriage is came from ay nanggaling sa common property, ay di sundan natin. So under both property relations, common property pa rin yan. Okay? Next, property obtained by labor, industry, or work or profession of the spouses. So yung properties na acquired during marriage and obtained by labor, industry, or work or profession of the spouses in both property relations under ACOP, ano yan, common property. And also in the CPG, under CPG, common pa din yan. Okay? So next, fruits or income due or derived during the marriage coming from common time. So i-distinguish natin, under ACOP, if the fruits or income, may rules. No, under ACOP, ang rules regarding sa fruits or income on properties, diba? Under ACOP, the fruit shall follow the source. Okay. So, kung yung fruit came from, under ACOP, if the fruits or income came from common fund, edi under ACOP, common fund din siya. Pero kung nanggaling yung fruits or income na yun sa exclusive property, automatic under ACOP, that fruits or income will be considered as exclusive property. Okay, however, under CPG or conjugal partnership of gains, kapag regarding sa fruits or income, ang rules na pinapollow is all fruits are common. So, ibig sabihin, the fruits or income, regardless where it came from, di ba? Kung kung nanggaling yun sa common fund, under CPG, exclusive pa din yan. Diba? Kung regardless kung saan yun nanggaling, whether exclusive or common property, yung funds and income na yan, under CPG, it must be considered as common property. Next, share in the hidden treasure discovered during marriage. So here, under conjugal property or under CPG, ano yan, yung mga hidden treasure discovered, considered yan as conjugal property. Kahit hindi nakakuha yung hidden treasure niyan, under CPG, considered yan as conjugal property. Okay? But in ACO, mm, hmm, but in ACO, consider din it as um, common property din. Common property. Okay. However, here in the CPG, ano yan, specifically stated yan sa batas natin na kapag hidden treasure discovered during marriage, automatic considered as common property under CPG. And also, property acquired by occupation such as hunting or fishing by spouses. Ayan, common property din yan under CPG. At the same time, sa ako, considered din yun as common property. Okay, common deductions. Whether under absolute community of property or conjugal partnership of gains, diba? The support of the spouses, their common children, and legitimate children of either spouse. Okay, next, all debts and obligations contracted during marriage by the designated administrator, spouse for the benefit of the conjugal partnership or both spouses or by one of them with the consent of the other. So, all of the debts and obligations, diba, contracted during marriage. And as long as the both spouses are benefited sa debts and obligation na yun, considered din as common deduction. Okay? As, yun. Okay, next, common deduction din, debts and obligations contracted by either spouse without the consent of the other to the extent that the family may have been benefited. Okay? Common deduction din yun. Next, all taxes, liens, charges, and expenses, including major and minor repairs upon conjugal property. Okay, so next, all taxes for mere preservation made during the marriage upon the separate property of either spouse and considered as common deduction din yan. Next, expenses to enable either spouse to commence or complete a professional, vocational, or other activity for self-improvement, so considered it as common deduction. And that's before marriage of either spouse insofar as they have redounded to the benefit of the family. Yan, considered as common deduction. And always remember, regarding sa deduction, dapat yung deduction niya aligned dun sa property na naka-include sa gross state. Kung yung gross state patungkol sa deduction na yun is under exclusive property, so under din yun ang exclusive deduction yun. Tama? Pero kung yung gross state patungkol dun sa deduction na yun is under common property, itapat mo lang yun or consider it as common deduction. Okay? Ang dami. Okay, next, the value of what is donated or promised by both spouses in favor of their common legitimate children for the exclusive purpose of commencing and completing a professional or vocational course or activity for self-improvement. So, common deduction din yan. Next, what yung mga expenses of litigation between spouses unless the suit is found to be groundless. Kapag yung obligation contracted during marriage are presumed to have been benefited the family and therefore common deduction sila. As long as yung obligation niya nag-benefits yung family, yan, considered din as common deduction. And also, uh, di ba sa computation regarding in computing the estate tax, di ba, if married individual po yung namatay, di ba, sa common property, may share po din si surviving spouse. So, 50%, di ba, tatanggalin na po yun doon. Kasi yung 50%, other 50% will be included as sa ano yan, net taxable estate nung namatay. Next, regarding sa medical expenses, under claim law, hindi na considered yun as allowable deduction in computing the uh, net net taxable estate. Okay? As well as yung mga judicial expenses. Yan. Okay? So, next, yung other deductions are either conjugal or exclusive deductions depending on whether chargeable against conjugal property or exclusive property. So, all of deduction, you must identify, di ba, kung saan siya chargeable na property. Kung conjugal property, edi magiging, or kung pag sa common property, chargeable na yung mga deduction na yun, magiging yung common deduction. Pero kung chargeable yung sa exclusive property, yung deduction na yun, considered as exclusive deduction. Okay, next. Common deduction again. The wagering loss during marriage shall be borne by the loser. So here, kapag nagkaroon daw na wagering loss during the marriage, di ba? Kung sino yung natalo, oh, yun yung may uh, deduction. Okay, next, winnings, however, shall form part of common property. So, kapag manalo sa loto yung mag-asawa, diba, during marriage, automatic, consider yun as common property. Regardless kung anong property relations or under CPG ba or ACOP, unless kung meron silang uh, prenuptial agreement regarding that. Now, all meanings will be considered as split property, o diba, of either spouses, hindi na magpiprevail kasi yung prenuptial agreement nila. Next, fines and pecuniary damages or indemnities imposed upon either spouse shall be charges against exclusive property. So, sino bang kasi may dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng fines and damages. Kung decedent, yun ay considered as exclusive property. Kung sino may sala, yun. Yun ang dapat i-charge yung mga deduction na yan. Okay? Considered as exclusive siya, deduction. Okay, complete separation of property. So, spouses shall be governed by complete separation of property here. But the future spouses have an agreement or they have a marriage settlement that their properties during marriage shall be under the provisions of separation of property. So, ibig sabihin nun, kung sino yung nagtrabaho nun, di ba? O kaya, kung pinambili din as exclusive property, either of the spouses, automatic, considered yun as exclusive property. Okay? Kasi nga, ano siya, complete separation of property. So, hindi na natin i-consider yung rules under CPG and AHO. Next, ang effect po nun is their individual properties, earnings, and the fruits, whether natural, industrial, or civil, received during marriage remains to be their separate assets. Kasi nga, complete separation of property yan. So, effects as to their liabilities. So, family expenses shall be incurred proportionally to their income. So, as long as yung expenses na yun is benefit yung family nila, dapat proportionally, it must be incurred proportionally to their income. Next, in case of insufficiency or default, their family expenses shall be based on the current market value of their separate properties. So, exception, The liability of spouses to creditors for family expenses shall be solidary. So it means liable is either of the spouses to the total amount of liability basta ano siya, considered siya as family expenses. So hindi sila hati. I mean, kung manginingil na creditor, either of the spouses, pwede siyang maningil ng 100% na yung liability na yun. Hindi pwedeng hati. Okay? Property regime of unions without marriage. So, capacitated to marry. So, it means kapag hindi sila nagpakasal, pero naninirahan sila sa bubong at meron silang sexual relationship, automatic na considered yun as ang gagamitin nila is property regime of unions without marriage. What if yung either spouses is capacitated to marry? So yung wages and salaries nila is owned by them in equal shares. O, equal shares sila. O, kahit di pa sila kasal, basta yung both spouses is capacitated to marry, may sabihin may mga certain requirements na bawa, dapat nasa legal age na sila, ganyan. So, capacitated to marry na yung dalawa. So, next, property acquired by both of them by their work or industry is governed by rules on co-ownership. So, yung rules on co-ownership is, di ba, katulad din nung property relation under ACOP. Okay, i-consider natin yun. Okay? So, next, consent of the other parties necessary in order to encumber or dispose their share of the property acquired during cohabitation through act inter vivos. So, yung unless their cohabitation is terminated, yung cohabitation dito is term for if two individuals are living together and they have sexual relationship, yan, cohabitation yung term doon. So, here, before if either the spouse have shared, diba, on the property acquired. So if one of them decided to dispose that property, di ba, dapat meron siya lang consent on the other party o dun sa ano nila, ka-live-in bago nila ma-dispose yun. Unless kung na-terminate yung cohabitation nila o hindi na ninirahan yung hindi na sila sasama, tapos wala na silang sexual relationship, yan. So, no need for the consent of other party. Pero kung tuloy-tuloy pa din, yan, bago nila i-dispose yung property na yun, either the spouse, kailangan muna may consent. So, how if incapacitated to marry? Okay, isa pang example dyan, halimbawa, yung yung individual na nakasama niya sa isang bahay na and they have sexual relationship na, then may iba pa lang palang asawa, o ibig sabihin, ano yun? Incapacitated to marry pa yun. So, kapag ganon, gagamitin is ito. So, properties acquired by both of them through their actual joint contribution shall be owned in common proportionate to their separate contributions. So, if silent, assume equal shares. So, ito, ang maganda example nito is kapag nag-create kayo ng partnership, di ba? Yung sharing ninyo is based dun sa interest, which is based kung magkano yung kinontribute mo, di ba? O, yun yung sharing nila. However, kapag silent, di ba, assume equal shares. So, tama ba? Next, the share of any any party who is married to another shall accrue to the absolute community or conjugal partnership if exists under a valid marriage. Okay. So kapag daw yung any party is kasal na, automatic na yung property na-acquire ng either of the party, ano yan, considered yun as absolute community or conjugal partnership as long as it exists under a valid marriage. Hmm. Okay. So that's the end of the our discussion. So regarding sa property relation, diba, dapat familiar kayo dun sa ano kaya niyang i-distinguish yung mga regarding sa property relation under Act of NCPG. So medyo madali lang siya i-gets. Ha? Oo. Okay. So regarding yung sa estate tax credit and not distributable, madali lang yung laman. So kung may tanong kayo, you can chat me anytime. Ha? Or then the next discussion ko is yung ano natin, yung feelings, i-discuss ko yung ano nila, yung sagot. Okay, so that's it. Thank you.